Number 3. Jesus is the Sabbath. Does the Bible teach that Jesus is the Sabbath? Some will say the book of Hebrews and the book of Matthew says so. Let's take a look at these passages. First, Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 to 30. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Christ gives his children rest. Does this mean that they don't have to keep the Sabbath, and that Christ is the Sabbath? Well, no. In Exodus chapter 33, verse 14, we read, And he said, My presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest. Christ was with Moses and gave him rest, yet Moses was one of the obedient children of Israel that also kept the Sabbath, unlike the others who were disobedient. It is not practical to give the Sabbath a definition which is not found in the Scriptures. Here's a simple test to tell if someone is telling you the truth about something in the Word of God. In place of the word or words that they are defining, take out that word and place the definition, like this. Matthew chapter 12, verse 8, For the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath day. This would read, For the Son of Man is Lord even of Jesus. Does that make any sense? How about this? In Isaiah chapter 66, verse 23, And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. This verse would read, From one Jesus to another shall all flesh come to worship before me. This passage does not make any sense either. To state Christ is the Sabbath ignores these problems. And we have to be careful not to bring into the Word of God definitions which cause the Scriptures to either contradict themselves or lack common sense. Turning to Hebrews 4, it says, in verse 8, For if Jesus had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day? This is also used to proclaim Jesus is the Sabbath, but it completely ignores what is surrounding. First, in verses 3 and 4 of Hebrews chapter 4, For we which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, As I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. For he spake in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise, And God did rest the seventh day from all his works. God's rest is being mentioned here as the seventh day that he rested. This doesn't deny that Jesus gives us rest, but it clearly points out, as we see in verse 3, that God himself rested, and he calls the day which he rested, the seventh day, my rest. Verse 9 of Hebrews chapter 4 says, There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God. That word rest is originally the Greek word sabbatismos, which means a keeping Sabbath. And if we turn to verse 10, it says, For he that is entered into his rest, he also hath ceased from his own works, as God did from his. We can't say that this verse is talking about Christ being the Sabbath. This passage in Hebrews 4 clearly indicates that the Sabbath is not Jesus or a person, but rather the Sabbath is a day of rest. It is the day of rest which Jesus rested after he created the heavens, the earth, the sea, and all that in them is, as Exodus chapter 20 verse 11 tells us. Therefore, we must cease from our own works and rest and keep God's Sabbath. Thank you for watching. God bless.